Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're having a great day so far and welcome to today's video, which is going to be the next episode of New Makeup and Movies, where I'm going to be showing you some products that I haven't had a chance to use on camera yet and giving you all of my thoughts on them while discussing all of the films that I have seen at the cinema in the last few weeks. And congratulations, if you are watching this video, you have found my hidden giveaway. That's right, this is the video that is going to be featuring my 3 prize giveaway. And the reason I chose this video is because this is a video that hasn't done very well previously. I've done 1 episode of this previously and it tanked on my channel. So I know if you are tuning into this video, if you're watching this video, you are an MVP. Okay, you're someone who supports my content even when I'm doing something a little bit different or something a little different to my usual content. And you cannot understand how much I appreciate and value you guys for giving new or different content a go and supporting me, even if you think it might not be for you, giving it a go. I'm so grateful to you for supporting content that might not be a review or a will I buy it or my monthly roundup. You're giving this other content that I'm giving a try and just supporting me regardless of if it's something that's a bit new or different. And I'm so grateful to you guys for supporting these videos because I love making them. So thank you so much, and that is why I've chosen this video for that giveaway. You'll need to watch to the end for the details of how to enter, but there are going to be 3 amazing prizes, so it will be worth hanging in there and watching until the end. So without further ado, let's get started. Okay, so I actually saw 6 films at the cinema since we last chatted about films, and I'm going to cover Kung Fu Panda 4 first because this is the film that I went to see with my children this month. And so I thought I'd throw it in there for all of you who just like animated films or go to see films with your kids or with your family and want to know what to expect, because as I said in the last one, they're just not all the same, are they? Some are made with the parents having to sit through this in mind, some are not, okay? And Kung Fu Panda, I will say, so this is the 4th one in this series for some reason. It's never been one of my favourite sort of children's franchises, and it's never been one of my children's either. They are like never especially excited for them. We have watched the others at various points, like on Disney or wherever, and they've never wanted to watch them twice, is what I'm saying. It's not one that they watch over and over again. They're not a big fan of it, and neither am I. I don't find them especially funny or entertaining. This one, I will say, is my favourite of all of the 4 of them. It was definitely better. I was more entertained than the others, but I still just don't love these films. They're just not my favourites when it comes to like family films, children's films, animation. I just feel like I'd much rather a Disney film. I'd much rather like Frozen. I'd much rather, you know, the Minions films. I love those. Those are very funny and easy to watch for the parents. But these, I just don't find them as good. This one was watchable. It was bearable. I didn't feel like in pain watching it. I didn't feel like I wanted to walk out. But it wasn't my favourite. My children, you know, I always sort of watch them. That's the whole point of going to the cinema with my kids. I just love watching their faces, hearing them laugh. And I don't remember seeing a single laugh out of either of them. I asked them what they thought afterwards and they said they enjoyed it, but they both gave it an 8. And that is quite low for my kids. They give most things a 9 or a 10, okay? They're very easily pleased when it comes to their films. But for me, this was like a 4. You know, if there had been another choice for a children's film, I wouldn't have seen it. It was just okay for me, mildly watchable, but no real laughs from either myself or my children, just like okay. So moving on to the adult film, not those kind of adult films. Okay. grown-up films is what I should have said. The first one I saw was Imaginary, and this was my first time seeing a scary film at the cinema alone. Okay, I've never really thought that I would go and see a scary film alone at the cinema. I've been going alone to the cinema, you know, for a good few months now, and I've been loving it. But there's something a bit different, isn't there, about seeing a horror film alone at the cinema. Like that, the thought of that, I wasn't sure. I didn't want to scream out loud. You know, when I'm on my own, that feels like more embarrassing than if I have like a friend to laugh at myself with. So yeah, I wasn't sure how this was going to go or if I was going to ever do this again. But I will say it was absolutely fine. I didn't feel any more scared for being in the cinema by myself. These Nars eyeshadow palettes and their cheek palettes are so flipping hard to open. I don't want to break a nail. I don't know if that's a good idea. Oh, for God's sake, I've literally just painted my nails as well, and this is going to chip the heat out of them. Open! Oh God, you're putting me in a bad mood, all right? I literally can't open it. I'm getting fuming now, can you tell? I did it, I did it. Phew. So Imaginary is about a blended family. So dad, who's children from a previous relationship, and then stepmom, okay? And they decide to move back to the stepmom's like childhood home, okay? So stepmom had a traumatic upbringing, but she doesn't really remember why. Convenient. Or inconvenient, as it turns out. But she has these really great memories of like her childhood home, and she wants to go back there and feel like close to her family. Her father is in like a hospital, like a psychiatric hospital, and he has obviously lots of issues. I don't think he can speak or anything like that, but there was like an accident at the childhood home that we were all really excited to move back to. But she was a very little girl when this happened, so she can't remember what happened. Dad ended up with serious psychological issues and no one knows what happened, but let's definitely move back there with these new young children. What a great idea. What could possibly go wrong? So as usual with these videos, I'm not going to be doing any spoilers. I'm just going to sort of tell you enough that you can decide whether it would be, you know, for you, whether you would like to watch it or not. So they move back to this house, and shortly after arriving there, the youngest little girl, she, like I said, she's maybe like 10, maybe a bit younger actually. No, she's like maybe like 6 is my guess. And she starts, like she finds a teddy bear in the house that was like already there, and makes it her own like teddy bear, and he becomes like an imaginary friend, okay? So she starts talking to him and having, you know, a lovely imaginary friend in this teddy bear. And of course, you know where this is going. This is not a good bear. It's not a good imaginary friend. You know, horror and terror ensue. So well, I will say I'm a huge scary film girl, okay? I love scary films, not so much horrors, but like psychological thrillers, something, not slashers, but something with a storyline. You know, that's my jam, my favourite kind of film. So I'm not easily scared, but I would say this was not scary. There were some jumps, you know, jump scares, but it wasn't scary. I slept fine that night. Like, it didn't freak me out at all. I didn't find it very scary at all. It was watchable. What really saved this film for me, because the dad, that man, I swear, I could definitely have done without him being in the film whatsoever. The mum was great, but the acting chops on these children saved this film, okay? Particularly the little girl. Like, she literally in real life can't be double figures, and she was unreal. Amazing acting from all of the kids in this film, and that really saved it for me, because it definitely got quite far-fetched in some areas, and that's like not my favourite thing. Like, I want to feel like, you know, this could have happened, and it definitely couldn't have. Well, not in my opinion, but you know, who knows? It definitely got really severely like far-fetched to the point of being sort of comical. Do you know what I mean? Like this is ridiculous. But I, you know, was fairly entertained throughout. There were some good twists, which I liked. You know, it wasn't like one of those where everything is very obviously going in one direction and it never sort of strays from that one direction. I really found it watchable. I didn't love it, didn't change my life. I wouldn't like watch it again. You know, my husband can't come with me because someone's got to pick our children up from school when I go to the cinema, and it's not one where I was like, oh, we need to watch this again together at home. It was just like, it was fine. I didn't regret seeing it. It was certainly, you know, I was entertained for the time I was there. I wasn't scared. It wasn't groundbreaking. It was watchable, if a bit silly. Okay, so that's kind of my overall thoughts on it. A little bit silly, a little bit far-fetched. Amazing acting from the kids, much worse acting from the dad. A decent storyline, but taken too far. That's kind of, that would be the headline. A decent storyline, we've gone too far, guys. And I'm going to give it a 6, okay? A 6 is what we're giving Imaginary. Decent, eased me into seeing the horror genre alone, but not scary and a little too far in places. Great twists though. I'll give it that. Next up, let's talk about Dune 2. So I did mention having seen Dune 1 in my previous video. I watched that at home because I knew I wanted to see Dune 2 at the cinema. So I watched Dune 1. So I would kind of have a vague idea of what was going on. It didn't actually do that for me. I had no idea what was going on. I haven't read the books. Apparently these are based on very popular sci-fi book series, and I haven't read any of those. So I had no idea what was happening in the first one. And it's kind of hard to concentrate, isn't it, on that sort of much of a complex storyline, theme, characters, all of that when you're at home and there's noise and there's kids and all of that stuff. It's kind of hard to understand, and it was really long as well. It's a long old film. So I will say Dune 2 at the cinema, so much better than the first one. One, just being in a cinema, all the effects and everything, just way better. I also just found like the music, the sets, the costume, everything was amazing. It was really, like, I could really appreciate everything, even without this being really my genre and without me being really a big, you know, Dune fan. All of that stuff, it was epic visually, you know, is what I'm saying. But the storyline of this one, I found it far easier to follow, maybe because I had a vague idea from the first one, but I think it was just a lot better, a lot more followable. I really enjoyed it. Again, the effects and everything were amazing. I followed the storyline much easier. It was just, I really enjoyed it, and it's not really my type of film either, but yeah, it was a very good watch. I really enjoyed it. I never felt myself like watching the time. If you're not familiar, like I wasn't, with Dune, it's kind of set on like another planet. I imagine something like Mars, maybe less hot, although quite hot, because the whole planet is desert, basically, hence Dune. You get where we're going with this. So it's set maybe in the future on a different planet, and there are, you know, multiple different sort of clans or races there, and they are at war, is essentially what's going on in the second film. And we're like following one specific group of those people, essentially taking on the bad guys. But it's not, I didn't find it like super overly heavy on the like war content or the battle scenes, which, you know, would have been like, I wouldn't have enjoyed that so much. I'm not a big sort of battle scenes for 2 hours kind of girl. It didn't really focus too much on that. There was great sort of story and interesting twists going on, and more to, you know, the storyline. There was some epic visuals. Everything was great. I really enjoyed it. It's like I said, someone who is not really a big fan of that specific genre and doesn't really know any of the background or the storyline, as you could probably tell. I followed it perfectly. I enjoyed it. It was entertaining. The acting was amazing from everybody. The makeup in this film, unhinged, unreal, an incredible special effects makeup as well. So yeah, I really enjoyed it, much better, I enjoyed it much more than the first one, but having said that, it's not really a fair comparison because I saw this one at the cinema and you can't really compare, can you? Everything is always bigger and better at the cinema, so maybe that's what happened, but to me, I enjoyed it a lot more than I did the first one, followed it a lot easier than the first one, and loved it. I'm going to give this what seems like a bit of a low score, being a 7, but I think that's just how I feel about this genre. It's just not really my favourite type of film, but nonetheless totally enjoyable and watchable despite it being very, very long. The next film that I saw was the new Ghostbusters film. So just in case you have lived under a rock for however many years since the original Ghostbusters, Ghostbusters is about a group, or the original series was about a group of people whose job it was to go round, I think, is it New York, is it mostly set, or in America anyway, and save people from ghosts who are haunting buildings, various different types of ghosts, some poltergeists, some friendly ghosts, and basically get rid of any of them who are causing a nuisance. So that was like the old school kind of Ghostbusters back in the day. This one very much follows the same sort of pattern, but now it's a family. I'm not 100% sure where these people came from. I think one of them is like a descendant of the original Ghostbusters and they've like inherited the old fire station where the Ghostbusters used to operate from, and now it's like their family, children, wife, husband, wife, couple of kids who are the new Ghostbusters. So all of the same sort of gadgets, all of that, you know, good stuff, going after sort of different ghosts and ghouls that are plaguing the city to save the humans who live there, right? So it very much sort of followed the lines of the original Ghostbuster films. The thing that disappointed me about this one is I just didn't find it funny. I didn't find it funny. And I really like Paul Rudd as well, so that wasn't the issue. And I do feel like he made the best of like what was a really not great script. In my opinion, I feel like he was fine. He was doing his best with what he was working with, but the jokes were all just like falling so flat. And typically when I go to the cinema on my own during the day, there's barely anyone there. There's only ever like a handful of other people in there. But I will say there was a fair number of people in this film. It was quite, you know, a popular one. There was quite a few people in with me. I did not hear a single laugh this entire film from anybody, least of all like myself. I feel like what sort of saved this film from being an absolute utter tank is the appearance of like the original cast members. When they arrived, it just felt so nostalgic, and the theme song as well, which by the way, they really should have put in earlier. We didn't hear like the proper Ghostbusters theme song until like almost the end of the film, and it immediately made me love it more. You know, as soon as I heard that ghost, you know the song. You know the song. As soon as I heard that, I felt happier with the film. You know, I was enjoying it more. It just was the nostalgia, you know. And I feel like had we had the theme song a bit earlier on and a bit more frequently in the film, I would have enjoyed it more, because it just, you know, that's the whole point of seeing this film, isn't it? Is to relive our youths and remember how much we love these films. And this one, it just... I know that I'm biased, and obviously whenever a film like this comes along years after the original that we really loved when we were young, it's never going to live up to it. It's very hard to do that, isn't it? It's always going to be, oh, it's not as good as the original, and I hate to be that person, but it wasn't. It really wasn't. And I wanted it to be. I was willing for it to. You know, I didn't want it to fail. I wasn't determined to hate it. I wanted to love it. I just felt like the originals were really funny and they had so much like character to them, and it just fell flat for me. I didn't, like I said, find it funny or entertaining. There was a lot of, you know, oversold jokes that were not funny and just were not landing correctly, and not just with, like, for me, like I said, I didn't hear a single laugh, not even a chuckle was heard throughout the cinema. So I don't think it was just me. I don't think anyone was especially loving it, and it was a little disappointing. Like I said, it was salvaged by the appearance of the original cast, but yeah, that was kind of a small salvation that came quite near the end. It wasn't terrible, but like I said, I didn't find it entertaining really. It wasn't funny. Very, very rare, like half laugh came from my soul. And yeah, it just was like, okay, it was fine. I don't think my kids would have found it particularly amusing either. I went on my own to see this, but it was not my favourite. I'm going to give this a 4, which sounds brutal, but that's just how I'm feeling, okay? I didn't hate it and I didn't walk out, but yeah, it just was a little bit disappointing. I was a little bit sad about it. I wanted it to be better, you know? Next up, I went to see another scary film because now I found my feet. I know I can do it. I know I can go and watch a scary film by myself and I'll be okay. I've told you, I think, about my new technique when I'm at the cinema and I know like a jump scare is coming and I don't want to scream in the cinema and embarrass myself. What I do at home is I do this. I watch like this. I don't know if you've realised, but watching through your hands like that, when you can't fully see the screen, makes everything a lot less frightening for some reason. I'm not 100% sure on the science behind it, but you get to see everything that's still going on, so you don't miss anything. You know what's happening. You've got to see everything, but only like through a mesh, a safety mesh, if you will, and it just makes it much less terrifying. And you don't miss anything. So that's what I do at home. At the cinema, where there are other people, you can't, that's embarrassing. You can't be doing that, okay? So what I've started doing there is cross eyes. I do cross eyes. Whenever it gets really terrifying and I think I might scream, I just watch cross-eyed. And no one in the dark cinema can see that I'm doing cross-eyed. For all they can see, if they were to look at me, which they aren't, is just I'm just sitting there looking at the screen. It's too dark to tell that I'm doing cross-eyes, but it's way less scary through cross-eyes than it is to watch the whole thing fully. So that was the technique that I was applying throughout this film. A lot of jump scares through this film. This one is about a young woman who is becoming a nun, and she has been sent to a nunnery. What do we call those? She has been sent to, it's not like a church, it's basically a hospital for nuns who are coming towards the end of their lives. So whether they are very elderly or very ill, the nuns are sent to this place in Italy to retire and be looked after. And she wants to take her vows and become a nun. And she has been sent to this particular place as like her induction. That's where she's going to be based. That is where she is being sent to like finish her training and be qualified as a nun and work looking after these elderly retired nuns. So it's this huge big building, lots of people wandering about all the time, some a lot less welcoming than others. So it's very hard to tell you a lot about this storyline without giving away like major spoilers. So I'm just going to say it's not a happy time for her, okay? Lots of horror and terrible things are going on in this place, all right? And most of them are not very holy. And she soon discovers that not all is as it seems, okay? Because if it was, that would be a very boring film. So this one definitely had a bit of gore, okay? I could handle it. I'm not a real big fan of gore, but there was some in here. It was bearable and it was fine. It wasn't super terrifying either, I will say that. Still wasn't very scary for me by my standards, but I really enjoyed it. The storyline was gripping. It had lots of surprises, lots of twists, and the main character is an absolute boss. Like, fair play to her. She wasn't one of these women that they have in scary films that's like falling down all the time or running upstairs while being chased. She was really, you know, managing business. She was on fire. So I appreciated that. And, you know, she was taking care of herself. There was no like man coming to save her, which again, I really like. I really like that's a very uncommon thing in films, especially horror films, where, you know, the main female character can look after herself. But she did, and she did it exceedingly well, and it was great. I really enjoyed this. This was definitely like my kind of film. Scary, spooky, lots going on, and, you know, twists and turns that you weren't necessarily expecting. All of that is right up my street. I really enjoyed it. I'm going to give this a 7.5, okay? It wasn't groundbreaking, but I enjoyed it. It was scary enough with jump scares, had a good storyline that kept you guessing. I'm going to give it a 7.5. Strong film for me. And lastly, but by no means leastly, we're going to talk about my favourite film of the year so far, Civil War. Ooh, this was good, okay? So I actually went to see this last week. It's been a couple of weeks since I got to go to the cinema because it was Easter holiday, so I had the children home and we as a family were here, there and flipping everywhere. And I was sort of looking when I got back last week to, you know, kids back in school, I was looking at the listings and there was really nothing I was super excited to see. You know, I will avoid war films like the plague. There was also the new Amy Winehouse film, which I haven't heard great things about, but I will probably see at some point. And yeah, there was just nothing really grabbing me. Really, Civil War was like the only film that was kind of on. And so I begrudgingly went to see it, thinking it was going to be a war film and I was going to be very bored, but hey, at least I made it to the cinema, you know, after a few weeks. So that was kind of the mindset I was going in with. I couldn't literally find anything else about this film out. I was trying to watch the trailer to decide whether I was going to like it, but it wouldn't play on the app. It was like they were trying to, you know, forewarn me that you want to go into this blind, and I think that's the best way, to be honest. So this stars Kirsten Dunst, who I can't remember the last time I saw her in a film, but I've never really been a big fan of hers, I would say, mainly probably because she played that really annoying, whiny character in Spider-Man, and that's literally all I can think of whenever I see her is that character. But ooh, she was great in this, okay? She was amazing. So this is definitely not really, in my opinion, a war film. Not how I think of a war film, where like the, you know, the film is all about the war and the war zone and the fighting. It's not really about that at all. This actually follows a group of journalists, photojournalists, war photographers, wartime reporters through dystopian American Civil War. So this is supposed to be like set sometime in the future, near future, I would say, when civil war has broken out across the US. And it's basically like, as far as I understand it, there's not a huge amount on the actual conflict. Like I said, how it started, none of that. You kind of, the film starts with it very much in the midst of it. You know, everyone's lives are on hold while this war is going on. And the president is like holed up in the White House. The whole of DC is like off limits. No one is allowed to go there, especially not journalists. And it is, yeah, it's like end of days apocalypse type of film. So there's this group of 3 sort of wartime reporters, journalists and photographers who are all friends, and they basically come up with this idea that they want to travel across war-torn America and get to DC with the intention of sort of forcibly speaking to the president and doing an interview. They think this will be a really big coup for them, the story of the century. They want to go there, try and sort of fight their way in and get to speak to the president and do his first interview in like years, right? That's their goal. Now on the way, they sort of pick up this young girl who is obsessed with Kirsten Dunst's character. So she is like a very famous war photographer, Kirsten Dunst's character. And this young girl, she's like her hero. She's her role model. That's what she wants to do for a career. And she begs to basically go with them and learn from them. And she wants to, you know, go along for the ride. So they agree to sort of take her part of the way, but it's too dangerous to take her the whole way. So she goes along. So there's now the 3 adults and this young girl who is kind of shadowing them and learning the trade. This film is so good, okay? It's so good. Like I said, I don't really like war films. Typically, that's not my jam, but I'm a big media studies buff, okay? That's what I did at A-level, and it's what I wanted to do at university, but I couldn't because of my swimming career. I had to do sport degree because that was the only one that that could work with my training, and I was given, you know, a scholarship for. I didn't really have a free choice of what uni course I did, sadly. That's what I would have done at university. I absolutely loved media studies at A-level. It is very much my interest area. I love film, but I also just love sort of analysing films and the choices and the stylization, and all of that stuff is so fascinating to me still. And this film was just geniusly done. Okay, it was absolutely amazing. Directed by Alex Garland. What my favourite bit about it was that because it's very much following this war photographer, they'll have moments where there's some conflict or there's something dramatic is going on, and they'll completely like mute out all the sound except for the camera clicks as they're taking photos, and they will insert like these, you know, stills that show what is going on in the scene. Instead of it just playing, it'll be shown through the eyes of the photos, and I love that. It was so clever and effective, and the silence with just the shutter, because it was very much a film actually about these war photographers. And while this was, you know, a fictional war and a fictional conflict, this is what that job is very much like. It kind of gave you a glimpse, and it really was very emotive and very confronting because, you know, there are conflicts going on right now, and there are photographers telling us these stories, and we're seeing these images right now about real life conflicts. And it was very, very emotional, very emotive, incredibly effectively done. Just unbelievable. The acting, especially that young girl, it's like you almost saw her from the moment you meet this sort of young, sprightly, passionate girl towards the end of the film, and she's just like, you know, morphing into these older war photographers who are very weathered and jaded and broken from what they've seen over the years and what they've taken these photos of. It was so powerful, so beautiful, so clever and beautifully done. Absolute 10 out of 10 from me. I loved it. Really, really loved it. Amazing. Can't recommend it enough. Okay, so here is the finished makeup look for today. Let me talk you through these products and how I feel about them. This Nars palette, the Afterglow Irresistible, it's just okay for me. This is like the 3rd time I've used it. I feel like the colour story is very, very samey. I cannot flip and open it. It's really annoying me. You know, there are people who really struggle to open difficult things, and I don't know why we would make an eyeshadow palette be so hard to open that I'm like breaking nails and hurting my fingers every time to open it. And I'm not someone who struggles to open stuff. Imagine someone with arthritis or just not super mobile, dexterous fingers and hands. You will never be able to open this, and that's actually really making me cross, okay? So I'm not even going to bother to open it to show you what's inside, because I literally can't without breaking a nail, and I'm fuming. But you know, the colour story, we've just seen this sort of like pretty wearable, warm toned colour story from Nars so many times in a row now. I really wish that they would come up with something just a bit different. I get that their eyeshadows typically are very wearable, daytime, day-to-day looks, and that's fine, but we can mix it up a little bit still. I feel like these formulas, they work nicely, they're fine, but they're also not as impactful as something like, you know, when they did was it their Climax palette that had the greens in there, and the formulas in there was so great and beautiful and impactful, and I want us to go back there. I feel like this is just becoming very easily skippable. You know, we've seen it a million times. It's not really tempting anybody. The packaging looks nice, but is a nightmare to open for some reason. So it's made me cross, okay? It's made me very cross today. My fingers literally hurt from opening it multiple times. Please sort that out, Nars. What are we doing? This Hourglass mascara, which is not new, but it's the first time I've tried it. I didn't like their Caution mascara. That just didn't really do anything for me. And I have had a sample, I think, of this before, but sample mascaras really never do the full-size product justice, I found, because they can't. I feel like that small amount of mascara in the tube, it dries out very easily and quickly. I think they sit around for a long time before they go out, these little minis, and they never really do it justice. This is such a great mascara. I haven't done a very good job of applying it today because I was doing it on camera and it's hell out there, but it's very lengthening, really beautifully separated and lengthened lashes. Not a huge amount of volume, but really, really great lengthening lashes. Really easy to use on top and bottom lashes. I'm loving it. Now, I showed you today my favourite way to wear the new Tom Ford Soft Matte Architecture foundation over the top of the Charlotte Tilbury Hollywood Flawless Filter. I love this foundation. I only use a small amount so I get more of a medium coverage, and with the Hollywood Flawless Filter it gives a lot more glow to the foundation and I'm loving it. That foundation is bulletproof, okay? I've worn it for like 12, 14-hour days and it looks amazing until you take it off. It's the longest wearing foundation I've ever used in my life and I continue to love it. I used the pink powder from Pat McGrath today for the first time on camera, but I have been playing around with this. I definitely still prefer my Givenchy powder. This one, you know, it is the same formula as all of the other colours, which I really like. I think it looks beautiful, but it doesn't have as much of a pink colour to it as I was expecting. It's just sort of almost off-white. It's definitely pinker than the white or the light shade, but it's very barely there. So I don't find it especially brightening, and it doesn't really make a difference if I wear that shade or the light shade. My under eyes look the same, whereas I find the Givenchy powder that I love just is a bit more brightening still. Now the RMS bronzers, oh my gosh, you guys have been absolutely fuming with how long I've taken to talk to you and use this on camera. I love this bronzer. This is the first shade I got, Tan Lines. I don't know if you can see, I actually cleaned this up because I was taking some comparison photos, but it has been very well used. I am loving it. Everyone wants to know, do I like this one best or the Armani or the YSL? I am going to work on a rankings video of all of these new releases because it takes me a long time to decide which is my favourite and what the actual ranking is. But I love these bronzers. They're beautiful. Tan Lines is definitely my favourite shade. I now have 3 because RMS very kindly sent me 2 more shades. I've got some comparison swatches on my Instagram, but Tan Lines is my favourite shade. It's just a nice, neutral, natural undertone, which I really love. The formula is amazing. It doesn't look glittery or shimmery or anything on the skin. It just looks so beautifully luminous. It's gorgeous. It melts into the skin like butter. I love it. The Natasha Denona highlighter, or Beautifier as she is calling it, I love. This is right up my street when it comes to a highlight. It's like glossy, you know, very, very smooth, very glossy, very flattering, luminous, but not barely there. You know, it's got some glow, but in such a beautiful, flattering way. It's very much a grown-up highlighter. You know what I'm saying? I absolutely love this one. And then the Dior Addict's obviously a new shade, not a new formula. You know how much I love these. I think this might be my favourite nude ever from this line. 616 was the shade that I used today, and it's gorgeous. The brow gel from Urban Decay, I don't love. It's good at holding my brows, I will say that, but this brush is actually painful to use. It's very spiky. I see where they were going with it. You see that? It's like a sort of comb situation. I see where they were going with it, and I get that, you know, it's very effective as sort of laying flat to your brows, but it actually is quite rough and sharp and painful to use it like that, and so I don't enjoy it. And then I don't really find that the gel is as powerful of a hold as the Rare Beauty gel. And then finally this little blush from Dior. This is Bronzed Glow, a new shade in their Rosy Glow formula. I flipping love this one. It's so perfect for that bronzy glow. As the name would suggest, it's got a bit of a luminous finish to it. It's sort of like a matte base with a bit of luminosity, so it doesn't look glittery or sparkly or shimmery. It's just got a bit of a glow, literally as the name would suggest. So buildable and just the perfect summer blush. Okay, it's the moment you've all been waiting for, this giveaway. So I asked you guys whether you would rather one massive prize or multiple smaller prizes, so more of you can win and have a prize, and you guys overwhelmingly said you want multiple prizes, so more of you can win, which I love. Also easier for me to ship smaller boxes, so we love that for me. So we have 3 prizes, here they are. The first prize, each of them has a bit of a theme. Prize number 1 is kind of skincare heavy, so we've got some amazing skincare in here. Rephr brushes feature in all 3 prizes, but we've also got the Kia Weiss facial oil, we've got the MAC Serum foundation in here, as well as MAC skincare. We've got some Charlotte Tilbury bits. We've got the Skin Rocks Retinoid 1, best retinoid product that I have ever used. This is number 1, so if you're new to it, it will be perfect for you. That's prize number 1. Prize number 2 is a bit of a mix of everything. So we've got some MAC lip liners, we've got some skincare in there. Again, we've got Rephr brushes, we've got the Charlotte Tilbury Hollywood Beauty Light Wand, and the Lisa Eldridge liquid liner. So we've got a real mix in there. Makeup, skincare, brushes, some of my favorite brands. That one is very much a mixture. And then prize number 3 is like the Charlotte Tilbury Lovers prize. We've got a lot of Charlotte Tilbury in here. The Beautyverse palette, we've got the Magic Water Cream, a Beauty Blush Wand, we've got a Pillow Talk lipstick, and her setting spray, which you guys know I absolutely love. Plus, again, Rephr brushes, couple of skincare bits in there. 3 unbelievable prizes. So all you need to do to enter is you must be subscribed to me here on YouTube, and you must be following me on Instagram. Here is my handle. That is the only way that I can safely contact you without anyone being scammed. As always, disclaimer, please, I will never ask you to WhatsApp me. I will never ask you to Telegram me. I will never ask you to contact me at all. The only way that I will communicate with you if you have won a prize is I will direct message you on Instagram. That is why you have to be following me on Instagram. That is how I'll contact you. I will never ask you to pay shipping for your prize or give me any information other than your address so I can ship it to you. If anyone is doing any of that stuff, it is not me. The message that you'll know will come from me. You can click on the message, go to my profile, you'll see it's me, you'll see you're following me, so that's how you know that this is safe and that it is really me you're speaking to. Anything else that happens is likely to be a scammer and they're after money from you, okay? Stay safe, people. So all you need to do to enter, you must choose your prize. Which one would you like? 1, 2, or 3? Comment in this comment section down below. You don't need to go to Instagram and comment, which lots of people do every time. You don't need to do that. You just need to follow me on Instagram, subscribe here on YouTube, comment down below on this video with your Instagram handle so that I can find and contact you, and which prize you would like, 1, 2, or 3. Okay, there's going to be 3 prize winners, so I need to know which prize you would most love to receive. That's all you have to do. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Good luck to you all. Oh, and you will have 1 week to enter. So 1 week from today, 6 p.m. when this video goes up, 1 week today, the giveaway will close. So you must enter by then and have done all of those things. Follow me on Instagram, subscribe to me on YouTube, comment down below which prize you want and your Instagram handle or username. That is it, you will be entered. But thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed this video and I would love to see you in the next one. Otherwise, take care for now. Bye, 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 bye.